I don't think of myself as a storyteller because I'm in awe of people who are storytellers, novelists, people who can just get up in front of a crowd and tell a story. I think of myself more as a translator. So what I'm doing is I'm translating from the medieval sagas and from the modern science. And I'm trying to make both of them accessible to people who would not read anything in Old Norse or anything published in the journal Nature or, physical review letters, things like that. It seems to me that people have made these false dichotomies. I mean, they think that you can study either medieval literature or science, and I had no problem studying and enjoying both of them. They're thought of as extremes, but the way I see it is it's just a different way of looking at the world, a different way of explaining the world, and a different way of creating stories about the world. I think that I probably could have been just as fascinated by Native American or Asian or Indian or African mythologies, but the one that spoke to me was the Norse. And I give the credit for that to Tolkien because he was so heavily influenced by the Norse culture, and I had been reading Tolkien as a child, as a teenager. The stories that we hear and the way things are told to us are how we see the world. So, for instance, the book that I'm working on now is about whether it is possible that there were women warriors, Valkyries, among the Vikings, and how common they were. Were they just a myth? Were they real? And we've got some great archaeology now to back that up. We've got lots of stories. I think the other thing that I have been trying to see and trying to bring out in this book is that our way of looking at people by gender, that you're either male or you're female. And if you're a little girl, you wear pink, and if you're a little boy, you wear blue, and if you're a little girl, you get Barbie dolls, and if you're a little boy, you get Legos, is totally a function of our modern culture. There's nothing natural, there's nothing, normal about it. And it's not maybe the best way of thinking about people. What you should think about is not what is this person's gender, but what is this person's ability? What is this person's ambition? What is this person's skill sets? I think it's a mistake to think that we are in some ways more intelligent or more perceptive than the people who came before us. They have a different way of explaining what they see and what they think. They use different words and they use analogies that we don't think of, but they're every bit as important and as revealing, and in some ways could help us a lot in our current situation in not knowing how to deal with nature and the climate and how people can coexist with the natural world. I think the Norse had to learn that the hard way because they didn't have all of the technology that we do that insulates us. Nature reminds you very frequently how powerful she is, and the Norse had ways of dealing with that. They had myths that addressed that question of the relative strength of people versus the earth, and how you should, we say propitiate the gods, but how you should treat nature. And just because they put it in the form of stories doesn't mean that this is just fairy tales or children's books. It's something that adults should take seriously and learn something from.